G'day Eagles fans, and welcome to this week's instalment of the SchoDown. This guest coming up is very happy with that name, bringing you the lowdown with what's happening around the football club. It's straight to the top of the shelf with today's guest, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome club CEO Don Pyke to the studio. Pikey, how are you, mate?
Good, Sco. Good. I'm excited to be here on this fledgling. I don't know what to describe it. It's a sort of just a content piece.
Well, you're the boss of the club now, so it's a part of your media strategy. That's what it is.
Okay,
so,
all good.
You're
nice of you to dress up for us today.
Thank you, mate. It's meant to be a casual affair, so
Okay,
nice of you to dress up as well.
That's
Actually, Pikey, you've chucked that on from the team store out the front. I'm assuming.
No, it's just regular workwear.
Mate, I'm keen to see how the first few months of the footy club's been for you as at the top as the boss. How have you found it?
Yeah, it's been great. I've loved it. It's sort of coming in. Obviously, a club I know and is dear to my heart, but to be able to come back in a slightly different role from the coaching, which is last time you would have seen me here, has been a learning curve, but also been exciting to come in and actually go, where are we at and where do we want to go forward? So we're sort of doing all the 3 months in now and sort of had a chance to talk to all the staff and all the stakeholders and key people, and now we'd look at setting the direction and move forward. Having
been in the role for a few months now, how important was your time in footy departments across the league here, obviously, but Adelaide, Sydney? Are you seeing that experience sort of at football level? Is that important? Does that transition well into administration?
I think it does, because you get a feel for the culture of other footy clubs. And if you've only experienced one, you probably only know one culture. I guess fortunate most recent times at Sydney and working with John and Tom Harley and Charlie Gardner and those guys was a different footy club. It's still a big city and a two-team town, but it's a very different town to a Perth or an Adelaide. So seeing how they go about their business and what they value is all good. It's all part of the learning, and we're always learning, mate. That's what happens.
This is a question without notice. What have you found challenging about the role that perhaps you don't know until you know? Until you're in the role, you're in amongst it. Is there something that jumps off the page you're like, well, I didn't expect that to be happening?
No, probably not. It's probably more just how big the club is. You sort of don't, when you're involved in footy, you realise there's a lot of people and a lot that goes into what we do. Ultimately about, getting our 3 teams out in the park and playing good footy, which is why our members are on board. But, we've got 150 staff. There's very different departments, a lot of sponsors, a lot of coterie members. It's a big organisation, and so there's a lot to get your head across. So it's probably more getting to meet all the people, understand how they operate, and working with them as to where we're going, the direction.
Where's the SchoDown fit on the list of things that you're covering at the top level?
The SchoDown's got to be up there.
Yep.
It's opened my eyes to a new opportunity, maybe to how I can place myself from a social media viewpoint. Maybe I'm not sure whether this is the starting point, but
you got a personal account, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, maybe we can get that across the line, mate. We're going to get to some questions from our audience. A lot of these members of the footy club, so that's what this does allow, a bit of access for our members to some of the big figures here at the footy club. John Gibson asked, what do you consider as a pass mark for the West Coast Eagles this season?
Yeah, well, we're not wedded to games won, for instance. I know everyone sort of goes, well, how many games do you think you can win? We'll try and win as many games as we can. I think Adam's been pretty open about saying, well, every time we go out, we're playing to win. What that looks like, time will tell. I guess I've sort of been pretty firm in terms of my views coming in, which has been, right now we need to be competitive. That was the first priority, was make sure we're playing a competitive brand of footy and people turn up and they see their team having a crack and consistently doing that. Second thing was, we want to be basically playing a style and a system which people can see and they can feel and it resonates with them, so they can go, I can see what they're trying to do and they're having a go. And the third thing is just improvement. They want to see our guys getting better, whether it be our older guys coming back, like we've seen with a couple of guys who've had patchy history in the last couple of years from injury, whether it's McGovern or Yo coming back and going, I'm seeing those guys, they're playing well and they're getting better, and our younger guys coming through. So if we can tick those 3 things off and continue to improve throughout the season, hopefully things from here start to build, and that'll be success. The competitive element over the last 4 weeks from afar looks like that's, of those things you're looking for, something the club's been able to tick off? Yeah, early days, and we sort of, on the weekend against Gold Coast, we probably were not as strong as we need to be around the ball. And credit to Gold Coast, who are really strong in that area, but that's a moment in time. The week before you'd have said we probably had it across Fremantle. So, the consistency is the next thing. That's all part of improving as well, as you want to be showing that you're playing good footy, but the good players just play consistently well week in, week out. And some of our younger guys have got to learn how to play consistently well, and that's the mental and physical energy that goes into playing high-level footy, and the experience they need to take into going, okay, what does a 6 out of 10 game look like?
Yes.
We can't go from 8 or 9 to 2. We've got to basically be shooting around that 6 mark every time.
Not to rehash the past too much, but that win against Freo in the Derby, as CEO, you must have been really proud of the club, coming together of sorts of, beating a really good side at home in front of your members. Yeah,
it was significant for us. I mean, it was obviously I haven't lived the previous 3 years because I've been elsewhere, so I understand though coming back in that some of the performances were not what the club wanted, certainly not what our fans wanted. So the opportunity to put 55,000 into Optus Stadium and play the way we did and get the result we got was fantastic for the club, and you need that on the way.
Yeah,
you need a few little awards for the effort the guys have put in. So it was really pleasing to see the way that not only the group responded, but the crowd. You could sort of sense they felt like, okay, this is the club that I love and the club I'm proud to be a part of, and I can wave my colours, and obviously beating Fremantle makes it a little bit sweeter.
Like it. There's a lot of questions about the club song from our audience, Pikey. So I'd like to know, is the club taking all fan feedback on board before making a call on what they do with the song?
Yeah, the song's an issue. Obviously, we did the banner. That was fairly straightforward from my lens.
Brilliant, mate. I will tell you, as a former player, I wanted the banner at all times. So thank you for that, mate.
Yeah, that's okay.
You've done something right.
It was interesting talking to some of the players, and they were almost trying to, because we still had a banner on away games, they're almost going, well, when am I going to play a milestone game? And I hope it's away, because then I get to run through a banner.
Give us a rest.
And it was like, so, no, they weren't certainly looking for a rest, but they were almost trying to plan it out. So it's great that's back. The song's slightly, a little bit more, there's a bit more detail in the song to go through. I mean, I think there's, the changes to the words of the song I think are fantastic. It's probably just the beat and the way that it works into the chorus. So we'll continue to have a look at that and deal with that in coming months, and probably for next season I think it's going to be one of those. Okay, good, very good. Brett Nugent asks, are you a part of the match committee? If not, do you have any influence over weekly player choices? No, I'm not part of the match committee. You happy about that? Well, I've been part of match committees. Yes. I guess I'm fortunate given my experience in the footy sense, both in coaching and mainly in coaching the last 8 or 9 years. I've got my views on the game, and I guess that's helpful for Adam to have a resource who has walked in his shoes, so I can understand how he's thinking in bits and pieces. And we'll have a conversation today around what went on the weekend, how we're looking for this week. But I certainly don't sit there and have any say on match committee or selection. Yeah. It's not my role. What did you blokes used to do in there? I mean, honestly, like sometimes you shut the door and you all, throw around some magnets. Well, it's all strategic, Sco. Yes. You're trying to work out, well, how do you beat an opposition and who do you need? And there's always good conversation there, and a lot of it comes down to, well, what's the makeup of the side? You do spend an awful lot of time on probably the last 2 or 3 players. Yep. In terms of, well, me. I didn't say you. I said the last 2 or 3. If you want to put yourself in the last 2 or 3, that's up to you. Yeah, don't worry. I'm very realistic about my career. I always had a view, which, at the end of the day, if you want to not put yourself in the last 2 or 3, well, put yourself in the first 2 or 3, and then you can be all right. Okay, it's easier said than done sometimes. Sometimes it is. I get it. But no, it's one of those ones where you can spend a long time over the last guy. And reality is the last 2 or 3 tend not to move the needle. If your top 10 don't move the needle, you're probably hoping, you're wishing to the bottom 2 are going to make the difference on the day. But anyway. Sounds like you're a good resource to have at the footy club, given your experience in that, and a bit of a sounding board for Simo. Nathan Michelson's asked you, Pikey, would we ever request to the AFL to schedule blocks of away games so we can hub for, say, 2 weeks at a time? Less air travel in total. Probably look at the gather round situation a little bit. Well, we did that this year. Yep. So we played the Bulldogs in Melbourne on the Sunday, and then stayed in Melbourne for 3 days, and then travelled to Adelaide for gather round on the Thursday. So certainly something we're looking at. It's for me, it's a bit of a no-brainer to be able to say, even on the weekend we travelled to Gold Coast. Next year if we travel to Gold Coast or Brisbane, why not stay over there, recover in Gold Coast, and then travel down to Sydney or Adelaide or Melbourne for a game on the way back, and halve the travelling than having to go over and back twice. Do you think COVID times sort of played a little bit of a part in moving that a bit further up the agenda? Because I remember as a player here, but anywhere, it was nothing that was really felt possible to have an entire club over east for a week, but certainly now clubs think they can. I think so. I think the whole COVID changed a whole lot of things, really. And even the whole industry basically functioning on 5-day breaks, for instance, which point. Previously everyone was like, oh, you can't have a 5-day break. Everyone's going to break down, or we'll be too sore, we won't be able to play. And they found a way. Now they were shorter games, but I think that's what it's allowed us to do, is understand that the concept of an away trip where we maybe cover 2 games is very doable, I think. Yep, great.
Great. Nuffington Post sends this one in. What have been the main factors reducing the injury list this year, do you think?
I think it's our training volume and intensity. It's as simple as that.
Right.
I think what they did this year, Matt Innes came on board and was very mindful of we have to train the durability. It doesn't just happen. But to do that, I think I said early on when we got a few injuries, everyone was, the injuries, they're coming again. It's like, no. When you train hard, you actually build resilience in the body and you build durability. And that's what the benefit's been, is that Matt's done a great job of, and it's both on the training track, it's in the gym, it's the level of sprint volume that they undertake, stuff over 80%. So it's all measurable. The little GPS units on the back tell everything.
Yes.
And we had the opportunity for 3 sessions in pre-season to actually build that durability into the players, and they're getting the benefit for it, which is great.
So overall, do you think they've done more?
Yep.
Is that draw that conclusion?
Yep. Well, then you have to. The game will demand what it demands, and that was probably what I saw coming in, was that the game was demanding this, and we were here. Right now, I don't know where we are to get to there, but that's at the elite level. The guys are high speed, high power running, recover, go again, and if you can't keep up with that, eventually they run over the top of you. So we've trained more into that space, and I think the players will feel that. You probably see that when you're watching the team now.
Definitely.
The capacity to cover the ground and really stick with the opposition is significant.
Yep, great. Miguel Sanchez, Pikey, what are your thoughts on the reserves? Is the current model the best we have available? What does the future hold for the Waffle Eagles? The Beagles.
The Beagles.
Yeah, that's what Miguel's called.
That's what they're called, are they?
I don't know.
I've never heard that before.
Miguel says.
Look, we're looking at that at the moment. Obviously, we've got a decision now pushed back to 30 June as to whether we stay in the Waffle, and there's pros and cons for both. The AFL are looking at the AFL seconds, and there's obviously the VFL, which 14 teams are currently playing in the VFL. There's only the 2 WA and 2 South Australian teams not playing in the VFL. So we're looking at it through the lens of competitive balance, primarily around development of our players. What's the best competition and the best system that allows us to effectively develop pretty raw and inexperienced 18-year-old kids who we draft.
Yes.
And so we're looking at all that at the moment, and we'll see where it goes. I'm not in a position to make a statement as to where we'd like it to land on that, but we're sort of looking at the whole picture. Yeah,
and the aim is to give the players the best environment to become better.
Best environment to become better, how they improve, how we develop them, and look, to be honest, I value being able to win, and I think we should have the opportunity, which we haven't in the last couple of years. There's been some injuries, which has meant our Waffle team's been depleted. Yep. But winning is a habit, and creating a winning environment is important. Not saying that we're necessarily in the Waffle purely to win it, but if we've got a good team and we're playing well, we should be entitled to win games of footy.
Yep, great. That brings us to the end of this week's episode. Pikey, the SchoDown done and dusted. Looking forward to Saturday's clash against the Bombers, and we're looking forward to re-spark an old tradition at the ground, I hear. We got the waving flags.
We've got a bit of the old from back in the '93 where Kevin Sheedy had the jacket waving. Right. So encouraging all the members to bring along their scarf or a towel or anything, or a jumper or whatever they want, and we'll be we encourage them to wave it around a bit to give them a bit of their own back. What are you dusting off? You must have a bit of memorabilia lying around from back in the day. You can't just say members do it. You've got to be doing it. But I'll bring something along. I'll tell you what we did have in my day was we had probably the worst uniform I think we've ever seen at Eagles history. Was we had the yellow shorts with the yellow jumper. And I remember coming into the ground at the Wacker one day, and it was like hanging there in front of your locker, and we sort of all looked at it like, really? We're going yellow shorts, yellow jumper. It was like, yeah. I won't bring them back. They're probably about that big as well, my shorts now. I was just about to finish. Pikey, thanks for your time, and we will see Don Pyke in the stands in all yellow this weekend against Essendon. Unlikely. See you next week. Thanks, Go.